You might be wondering why this week's video I'm dressed up so snazzy. This week's video is going to be played as part of my presentation for my Hebrew Bible culture class. Actually, now that I think about it, I guess technically I could have worn normal clothes for this video and still played it as part of the presentation. Critics are far too quick to point things out about the Christian worldview that could potentially be seen as inconsistent. This is definitely one of those times. This video won't cover all of the Old Testament law, because that's impossible. But it is useful to know something to talk about when critics come and ask this question. Why don't Christians follow the Old Testament law? And just so you know, this question is a lot more complicated than it seems, because there's more than just a because of this reason sort of answer. There are loads of reasons why we don't practice Old Testament laws today. Things like time-relevant practicality, or separation from surrounding cultures. There's also hygienic necessity, and a lot of circumstantial-based scenarios. Especially since we're separated by a few thousand years, it's a heck of a lot easier to address specific Old Testament laws and explain why we don't practice those ones anymore. In this video, we'll go over a few main ones that critics typically raise issues over. Starting with the first one, which is sacrifices. Sacrifices definitely served a symbolic religious purpose in having to provide something for the atonement of our sins, but that was abolished when Jesus came and provided the ultimate sacrifice. That part was easy, but sacrifices also played a much larger role than just the symbolic religious part of it. Since they didn't have coinage or any kind of paper currency, or paper for that matter, the economy was entirely based on material goods. So the grain and animal sacrifices played kind of a vital role in providing a living for the priest. In a lot of ways, it was kind of like the monetary offerings that we provide today for Christian churches. The second law that I'll be talking about is the priestly uniform. Why aren't Christian pastors required to wear priestly garments just like they did back in the Hebrew culture? Priests used to wear pure white linen robes in order to separate themselves not just from surrounding cultures but also from the rest of Israelite society. It was important to distinguish the Israelite culture from the surrounding cultures so that it would set the precedent for themselves that they were supposed to be set apart and different in the eyes of God. It was also important for priests to distinguish themselves among the rest of Israelite culture for similar reasons so that they could be identified in front of everybody else. Now, modern Christian pastors are supposed to be set apart, but in a more character sort of way. Back then, it was much more important for Israelite priests to set themselves apart in more than just a character or lawful sort of way. Finally, the third thing that we're going to address today is Levitical Cities. Critics don't usually know about this one, but I still think that it's worth mentioning. Levitical cities, also called cities of refuge, acted as places to go when somebody was in trouble or they didn't have any other place to go. Because the culture didn't have an established government, they didn't have any law enforcement, they didn't have any government aid systems, and they didn't have any legal court systems. That's why they had Levitical cities, so that they could fulfill all of these roles that our society has developed. So that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for arguing with me.